INEOS may have not sacked Erik Ten Hag, but in that meeting they discussed a lot about Erik Ten Hag's future and who his replacement will be if they sack him later down the line. Because if he does have 3 or 4 more bad games, it's very unlikely he's going to escape the November international break. Now, Thomas Tuchel rejected Manchester United in the summer, and he was set to be the next Man United manager. But why did he reject Man United in the summer? That has been revealed. And why would he accept the Manchester United job now, despite rejecting us in the summer? We've got a little bit of information on why that could be. There was a lot of mixed reports coming out on Mazraoui earlier today. One report that he's going to be out for 2 months with a heart problem, but that has been sort of debunked. He will be out, but probably not for long. Surprising, good update on Luke Shaw maybe being able to return after the international break. And there are some rumours that Yoro could be back after the international break, although I'm waiting for confirmation from a more reliable source. Alvaro Fernandez, the left-back situation, the full-back situation at United is dire, and United have a buyback in Fernandez's clause. And there is reports coming out that United are watching Fernandez and thinking about bringing him back in a shock move. And then we've just got more updates about Leacher fitness concerns if the youth signings have been registered, like Kone Lascelles, Obima and Overy, and a few other stories about Ten Hag and Bayendier fall out. So I'm going to try and get through all this latest Manchester United news in 10 minutes for you guys. So please do go ahead and hit that like button if you have not already. And of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks. So if you're new, it would be greatly appreciated. So the surprise boost is Luke Shaw. There is hope that Luke Shaw will be able to return after the current international break. And considering that Mazraoui's out, we need Luke Shaw back. The problem is if Luke Shaw's not 100%, he plays 2 games, he's injured for 3 months again. I only want Luke Shaw to play if it means that he's allowed to play like 8 games in a row without picking up a little injury at least. Because I remember we rushed him back for the Luton game. He had to come up at half-time. He was injured out for the rest of the season. Rushed himself back for the Euros when he probably wasn't ready in time. Went to the Euros. Then he's been injured. I like Luke Shaw. Like, I think he's a really good player. And I think Luke Shaw, fully fit, I think he's one of the best left-backs you can have, and you can't get much better than him. But he cannot stay fit, and that is a big problem at United. And I think in January, we need to go out there, we need to look at Anthony Robinson. And the reason I say Anthony Robinson is 28 years of age, but he's Premier League proven. He's got the athleticism to get up the flanks, good defensively, good going forward. Ain't Nori vulnerable defensively. Robinson's got both. He's going to be like 25 million, and yes, he's a bit older. But for me, that makes room for Harry Amos when he comes through. Or Alvaro Fernandez if we bring him back, because look, maybe Tyrell Malacia recovers his career at United, but I have a feeling that Tyrell Malacia is going to be very difficult for him to come back and put in performances of Man United level. But if he does, fair play to him. In terms of other injury news, it was said that Mazraoui has successfully undergone a minor precautionary corrective procedure after experiencing heart palpitations. He's expected to make a full recovery and be available for selection within the next few weeks. Manchester United aren't putting an exact time frame on Mazraoui's recovery, but is not expected to be as long as the 2 months being speculated. And United sources have indicated Mazraoui will hopefully be available for selection after the next international break in November, but he will only return to action when medics declare him fit to do so. So some reports are saying Mazraoui is going to be out for 2 months. Some reports are saying he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. But Chris Wheeler and more credible reports are saying he could literally be out for 3-4 weeks and maybe miss 1 or 2 games, which puts the need on Luke Shaw to come back because that's Lindelof or Leacher at fullback, or he takes the risk with Harry Amos. Now, I hope Mazraoui gets well soon. I hope he's all okay. Health is a massive thing in football, and if it's anything's a risk to his health, of course. So, we can only have him back when the medics say he can come back. Not expected to be as long as 2 months going about, but obviously a bit of an annoying situation to be in because Luke Shaw and Malacia are unavailable, and obviously not a good situation for Mazraoui, but hopefully he's all okay. Now, I think United have realised, our fullbacks have got too many issues. We probably should have brought someone in the summer. And I think the biggest doubt we all had, because I think we had a good summer window, compared to previous ones at least. But the one thing we all said, if you tuned into my live streams at the end of summer, we all kept saying, I think we're going to regret that left back. I said, I don't want Chilwell or anything like that. But Reguilon on loan, just that extra name on loan. I don't want Lindelof playing at fullback. I think we're going to regret that, and we probably are. And the one thing we do regret is Alvaro Fernandez. I tweeted this earlier today. Since we sold Alvaro Fernandez in January of last year, Luke Shaw started 4 games, Malacia started 0. Since we sold Alvaro Fernandez, out of 40 games played, we've only had a left back, that's a natural left back start, 4, and we sold this guy. Obviously, Ten Hag didn't 100% rate the guy, but I think selling the guy was silly. But we do have a buyback clause, which I believe is like 15 or 18 million pounds or something, so it's quite low. And it was said that Manchester United, Real Madrid and Barcelona are closely monitoring Benfica's Alvaro Fernandez, and United have a buyback clause. So there is reports coming out from Portugal that we're monitoring the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if we triggered this buyback clause if Ten Hag wasn't here, but Ten Hag was the one that actually wanted him to go and didn't rate him, weirdly enough. And Ten Hag's talent ID with the youth academy players has been quite good, to be fair to him, despite it being a bit of a mess at United at the moment. Now, as I said earlier, my first choice, Anthony Robinson, Premier League proven. You know what you get. We need someone that's going to come in, that's going to lift the squad levels, take the reliance off Luke Shaw, not have to play the lower left back, have the lower right back competing with Mazraoui. That's what I want to see. Guys, if you haven't already and you're still watching, you clearly like the content, so please do subscribe down below if you're new. On that final road to 100k, we're now going to get into the manager news. Now, I've been leaving the manager news to the back end of my videos lately because I'm kind of fed up with the manager news and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumours, but there are some interesting stories going about. This was said by Miguel Delaney. Sir Jim Ratcliffe requested Manchester United's football hierarchy put forward forensic cases for all potential scenarios on Erik Ten Hag's future when they met in London on Tuesday. So this is the first thing said by Miguel Delaney, which is quite interesting. Ratcliffe wanted all of the hierarchy to put forward potential cases of what would happen if they decided to sack Ten Hag. They were discussing Ten Hag sacking and what they'd do if they decided to sack him, to probably see if, is this a risk? Is this financially feasible? Should we do this? They're probably considering all the options because they know they may not tend to sack Ten Hag now, but they might have to sack him in 3 weeks' time. So they've got to have that conversation in that meeting. There was considerable differences in positions, although one of the most debated was over what comes next should the club eventually decide to move on from Ten Hag. Now, during the meeting between United's hierarchy on Tuesday, Thomas Tuchel was spoken of as the most likely new manager should Ten Hag be sacked. So it looks like INEOS yet again have probably decided on Thomas Tuchel should Ten Hag be sacked. But people be saying, Alice, but, Tuchel rejected us in the summer. We were this close to signing Tuchel. He was about to sign the papers, about to sign the contract after multiple interviews in Monaco, and then Tuchel rejected us. So, surely he's just going to reject us again. Surely, we're not in a good bargaining position. But there's a bit of insight that's come out into why Tuchel rejected us. Now, remember this report. German newspaper Bild has reported from pundit Markel Reef that a source close to the Tuchel situation is claiming that the deal to see the German manager take over Old Trafford was in the final stages. The report said as far as the squad is concerned, the considerations were different. Tuchel said pretty much at the finish line, I'm not doing that. I won't do that to myself again. And that I go to a club and then things come from outside. Now, what Tuchel's referring to is the Bayern board wasn't very good. The Chelsea board wasn't very good. He had concerns about INEOS because of the board. Now, you've got to remember, at this point, we didn't have Ashworth in and we didn't have Wilcox in. We only had, and Barada was coming in, but we still had to wait for him. And I think, we're getting a bit of context on why, because the Muppeteers gave an interesting update to say that Tuchel would take the United job now because things have changed. And Jimmy makes a good point here. Heard the Muppeteers ask why, if Tuchel turns down in the summer, would he agree now? And Jimmy said it's because of this. I believe Tuchel turned us down at the time of the decision because United couldn't give Tuchel clarity on when Ashworth would start. We didn't know when he'd start and if they'd have a head of recruitment. We didn't have Bibble, we didn't have Ashworth in. As such, Tuchel was facing what he had at Chelsea and Bayern, where he would have to run the recruitment strategy in uncertain times, and he did not want to do that. Now that's changed, Ashworth and Bibble in place. And I think this guy's correct in what he's saying, because he's not the first person to say this. But when you look at Tuchel saying he didn't do it because he couldn't do that to himself again, I think it might come down to, well, Ashworth and Vivel weren't quite in place. He wants to make sure the new Man United hierarchy is going to back him if he'll take the job. Now they're in place, he saw them have a good summer. He's willing to take the United job. In terms of other news around the manager, it was said one surrounding issue whether to keep faith with Ten Hag or look for a new manager is the quality of candidate available. There isn't any standout names INEOS could turn to. Tuchel seems to be the standout name we discussed. They like Xabi Alonso, they like Amarin, they like McKenna. Not sure that they could get all of those people, but none of them would be available to at least summer as well. And I think City are looking at Amarin to replace Pep. There was also said that sacking Ten Hag would cost United 14 million, which is probably another reason why they're delaying the decision. And there's sort of been this talk as INEOS on fraud watch because they're not sacking the manager. And I think one of the reasons they're not sacking the manager is because it's going to cost them and it's not going to look good considering they could have sacked him in the summer and they've sacked him after 6 games. Now, Ben said on this, we know football at the highest level as the Premier League is, and it's an incredibly tough. But knowing Ratcliffe, knowing people like Brailsford, the rest of the team they've now brought in there to manage the club and take things forward. They'll get there. I would say give them time. It's not something that's going to flick a switch and happen overnight or happen. And for me, I've not been 100% impressed with everything INEOS has done, but I like the people they brought in onto the board. And if Ashworth and Barada, who are the executives that know more than me about football, decided to give Ten Hag a bit longer, I back what Ashworth and Barada choose. Although, unless it's for the wrong reasons, because they don't want to look bad, then I don't back what they do. But I think INEOS is one of those where in 3 years' time, I do think they'll be proven to be good. I think we just want that instant change. I think as a fan base, we just crave that instant change. Talking of instant change, the 4 youngsters are now on the United website that we signed in the summer, which is brilliant to see. Apparently, Erik Ten Hag did not speak to Bayindir for 2 weeks following the arrival at United, which is kind of weird, but at the same time, I think the board just went out and signed Bayindir. It kind of happened out of nowhere. He had his medical out of nowhere. Don't think Ten Hag was that bothered about the Bayindir signing. He never really played him. And there was rumours about Lisandro Martinez being unavailable, but apparently he's fully fit and available to play for Argentina and United. He's not injured. That's what's been said as well, and that they're just managing the workload. So that's all your latest Manchester United news in a 10-minute video for you guys. Please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. Bye.